What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Blazers Uprise Live, presented by Bet Online here on a Monday night. It's been a few days since Damian Lillard requested a trade. It's been a few days since free agency started. And it's been a long time since the Blazers actually signed a free agent. It's been actually more than a year, Eric, because they have not signed a single free agent yet. They re-signed Jeremy Grant. That was their guy. They have not brought in literally anyone.
Well, it depends on if that Willie/Eddie Tavares news is true or not.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. But yeah, that might be their splash free agent signing this offseason. Obviously, the splash, though, is a looming Damian Lillard trade, which we'll talk about more tonight. But first, shout out to Bet Online for sponsoring this episode. Use promo code BELIEVE for a 50% reward bonus. You can get in on any of the action that you want to that's going on in the sports world. NASCAR, golf, baseball, whatever you want to get it on. Bet Online has it. Have some fun with some parlays, live betting, and all sorts of fun stuff using that promo code BELIEVE, B-O-E-A-V. All right, so, man, I have had a headache the past couple of days. I am just not in a good mood the past couple of days. I am extremely annoyed. And it hasn't really gotten any better, to be quite honest with you. I'm extremely frustrated, and I don't know when it will get better. I don't know how long after a hypothetical trade would have to happen for it to get better, but man, this situation still sucks. I don't know. How are you feeling compared to, what was it, Saturday? That's only 2 days ago, I guess. It feels like forever, though.
Still bummed, still kind of angry, this whole situation. Still super annoyed at all the people who are just completely deciding to ignore logic or common sense and stuff like that. So that's been frustrating. But I do want to just give a huge thank you to everyone who's reached out or has said something to me in the past few days. Really appreciate everyone checking in and giving their support or just letting me know that how they were feeling and that they were in the same boat. And like several people said that I was going through the same emotions that I showed on stream, and just really meant a lot to me that all of you reached out and did that. So to all of you, just a sincere thank you for that. Yeah, if you want to go and laugh at me crying or whatever, go check out our first stream from Saturday morning. I know some people are having some fun with it, and that's fine, but just really appreciate all of you that reached out and said that meant something to you and that you were feeling the same. So appreciate all of you.
You know what's funny to me, Eric, is the people that are having fun with it, right? They're the people that'll question our fandom, right? But then when you show you really, really care, then they'll make fun of that too. So, yeah. You know, I mean, Damian Lillard means everything to a big part of this fan base, and basically became my love for the Blazers because everything else regarding the team just has slipped into utter mediocrity. And now that Dame's gone, just doesn't even feel like, you know, or I mean, he's not gone yet, but now that he's demanded a trade, it doesn't even feel really like the Portland Trail Blazers anymore. So I had a whole ramble video last night, 25-minute ramble video where I just kind of went through thoughts, but it was mostly based around like the section of the fan base that you alluded to in your intro statement that basically kind of have turned on Dame or are mad at Dame for this situation. And it's just like, man, after everything that Damian Lillard has done right and how loyal he's been to Portland, about as loyal as you could ever expect a player, if we're still going to turn on Dame, then how can we ever be a fan of anyone that suits up for this team then? Because Dame has done everything as well and represented the organization as well as you could hope. He's been as loyal as you could hope for a superstar. And after all this, if we have a problem with him asking out, I don't see how we can justify being a fan of anyone then, because I wouldn't expect anyone else to do it or handle it any better than Dame has. So that part is a little funny to me. Fans turning on Dame is just kind of what's been annoying and angering me lately. Also, the excuses for the front office just continue to flow. I mean, at this point, I think there's a section of the fan base that Joe Cronin literally could not do enough wrong to get criticized. Like, I don't know what else Joe Cronin could mess up or make a mistake on in order to get criticism from some people. And it's just been kind of frustrating discussing this entire situation in general.
Yeah, because at this point, if he gets a crap trade for Dame, they're just going to blame Dame.
Yep.
And it's all his fault. He shouldn't have said it publicly or whatever.
I mean, but here's the thing, though, with that, man. What do you expect? You're pushing him to the brink. You're misleading him. You draft his replacement. You should expect for him to demand a trade. You shouldn't be shocked. You should have absolutely... We expected it. A lot of people expected it. They should have expected it. And to act like to be surprised that he would try and end up where he wants to go is just so silly to me. If the Blazers end up trading Dame to Miami and they don't get back much for him, you cannot blame Dame for that. Of course Dame is going to try and go where he wants to go. The organization should have known that if they force Dame out, this would be the situation. There's going to be a spot that he wants to go, and he's going to try and leverage his way there just like any other star would. And the landscape doesn't have enough suitors to really create too much of a bidding war. And we talked about that over a month ago. We said there wasn't going to be a haul for Dame. We said the trade landscape didn't make sense because teams either were rebuilding or didn't have assets or had an entrenched point guard already, so weren't interested in Dame. We warned all this, so you can't make excuses for the organization since they put themselves in this position, because it's not hindsight. There was foresight with this, and they should have had that same foresight.
I'm having a tough time once again with the logic. So this GM couldn't get any value for the third pick or Anthony Simons or future picks or anything like that. But now all of a sudden he's supposed to get like maximum value for Dame, and that maybe he's just not good at trades. Like I don't know. Like it's weird to me. Like yeah, I don't get the logic sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, what I've discovered in this kind of event session to start this stream, we'll discuss trades and take questions and, address different aspects of the saga. But for me, it's frustrating because basically there's a narrative around Cronin that he's basically helpless. Like, he's been out-leveraged in literally every scenario. There was nothing more he could have done. He tried his hardest, and there is just nothing available, and he had to do everything he's had to do. Even in regards to his contradictory statements, people have said, well, that's just GM speak. He has to say that they're trying to win around Dame and build a winner for him, and that they're obligated to being super aggressive to build a winner around them. He has to say all that. Basically, Cronin's responsibility has been reduced down to, well, he's not responsible because there's nothing he could do whatsoever, regardless of what he tried to do in terms of the roster, regardless of his trades, and regardless of his statements. There was nothing he could do. He had to do everything that he's done up to this point. And, and then, if there is maybe a slip-up he made, well, it's also Olshay's fault because Olshay put him in this position. So it's just the non-accountability. Is that the right word? the unaccountability for Cronin is getting a bit frustrating because, to me, I mean, I understand if you want to go this route. I understand if you thought that, Cronin, if you don't think anything was on the table for the third pick and don't really believe what me and Eric believe in regards to how aggressive they were shopping their third pick, I understand if you believe all that, but to completely excuse everything that's led up to this point is just ludicrous because he's contradicted himself. His actions haven't met his words. Everything he said he wanted to do, he's failed on doing. He hasn't been able to do. And, yeah, he said he had an obligation to be in super aggressive around Dame, and then even if it looked like an overpay, and then drafted his replacement. So
his exact words at the trade deadline were they were setting themselves up to be ridiculously aggressive. His exact words, ridiculously aggressive. They would overpay. They won't settle for anything less than bringing in winning players, and that it was going to maybe hurt a little but that they had to do it and they owed it to Damian Lillard to do it. And those were his exact words. He didn't have to say all that crap. He's the one who put that all out there into the world. And now he's trying to, like, go back on that and say, like, or people are trying to excuse that as, like, Jody's fault or something like that. Like, you don't say those things if you're an organization that doesn't mean them. It's just stupid. I don't know.
Yeah. It's gotten to the point where, and we've seen this with prior people in this organization, it gets to the point where you want to excuse the guy, so you'll try and come up with anything to excuse the guy, or you'll try and brush off any criticism of the guy. And it's, to me, it's not really born out of logic. It's more so born out of, I want to like Cronin. I want Cronin to be a good GM. I want to trust him. He's a nice guy, so I'm going to take him for his word. It's basically an emotional want to not criticize him. It's an emotional want to defend him because, I mean, at this point, he's ran the best Blazer of all time out of town. And there was a podcast from Chris Haynes, Eric, that basically brought up that as part of tanking, I'm kind of paraphrasing here, but as part of tanking, the Blazers told Dame they would look to move the third pick in order to incentivize tanking. Which, who had that information a while ago?
I don't know who that could be, but I think it's important to go over what exactly he said.
Mm-hmm.
He started off by saying Dame thought they had a promise or something, and he's like, wait, I can't say that. Dame knew they had a promise. like he started off by saying like it was ambiguous, and then he made sure to make it clear that it was not. Yeah, I mean, it lines up with everything. If you watch this channel, we've been telling you, like, how would I know there was a promise before anyone had ever said there was one, right? And then why is it coming out now? It's just, I don't know. And then to all the people who say he shopped the third pick, Cronin's own words were he told Dame on Tuesday before the draft, 2 days before the draft, that he was likely going to keep the pick. And that lined up with what Haynes said today. But they knew before that they were keeping the pick. And that means he refused any calls from Tuesday to Thursday about the number 3 pick. And he just they were going to keep the pick. And that's not doing your due diligence on number 3. That eliminates any kind of questioning of, well, what could they even get for number 3? Because they don't even know. They don't know because they didn't even really try to trade it or shop it.
Yeah, or they just, heard opening offers and kind of gave up on it instead of trying to negotiate their way into a deal that made sense, which is what GMs do, and it's a skill. And people act like that's not a part of GMing when they say there's nothing Cronin could have done. There just wasn't a good deal on the table. We have to get away from the thought that the general manager of the Portland Trailblazers has to have a perfect trade brought to them and laid out in front of them, and all they have to do is say, you know what, yeah, I'll take that, as if they are ordering off a menu at a restaurant, man. GMs negotiate. GMs, it's a part of the job, and writing off, basically trading the pick multiple days before the draft, it doesn't show that you're being aggressive in trading the third pick. And it's just funny to me how many people just assume, for whatever reason, that Cronin tried his best and was as aggressive as possible in shopping the third pick but couldn't find anything, because that is simply an assumption that is based on less than the alternative that he didn't.
Yeah. And Tori, he actually was presented with a possible trade in his lap, and he had already chosen Scoot and did not want any part of it. And to all the people who told me Boston's already said they're giving Jaylen Brown the max, and Jaylen Brown, there's no way he turned down that money. Okay, it could still happen because they're running out of options. But why hasn't that extension been announced yet? Why are we hearing reports now that situation is fragile and might not result in a good ending there? Like, so if that was such a dumb deal and I'm such a dumbass and an idiot, completely delusional, why has that not been, why that was 100% done deal? Why hasn't it been signed yet?
Yeah. And that was another assumption people made, that it was a 100% done deal and Jaylen Brown was never, ever going to be available. And people, that's the thing, is that wasn't based on anything. That wasn't based on anything. The only thing that was reported was Boston saying they're willing to pay it to him or whatever, which you explained why it would be in their best interest, and it was bullcrap. And here's the thing, it's not like you were the only one reporting on Jaylen Brown to Portland potentially being some smoke or some fire. There was other people that cover the Blazers reporting on that as well.
Let me just say, yeah, a while ago, right? Like a month or a month and a half before the draft, there was people reporting that, but then it got awfully quiet. Like, right? Like then, like no one was talking about Brown, right? After that, the reason for that is the Blazers decided. Well, okay, let me just loop that into something that I want to tell you guys about. Believe me if you want, I don't freaking care. Call me delusional if you want, I don't care. But I was told that somewhere around the time towards the end of the season when Sharpe started playing well, they had already convinced Dame to sit out. Somewhere in that little stretch there, they started turning on Dame's requests and his wanting to win, and started thinking that that route might not be the best route, okay? And from that point forward, they got to a point where Dame became the problem in their eyes, okay? Dame wasn't the solution, or they didn't want to win with Dame. They thought he was preventing them from building this dynasty team, right? So fast forward to the third pick, right? We get the third pick, and this just further cements it, right? Then there's rumors that Charlotte might take Brandon Miller. So they're in their eyes thinking we can pivot and move to a Scoot Sharpe future, which is within their rights, right? It's totally okay if they wanted to pivot and do that. Just be upfront with Dame and the fans, though, right? Just do that, okay? At some point, you have to like just stop the charade that you're trying to win with Dame still, and you still had that whole plan to do it, because it's fine. Just admit that that was your plan or whatever. And so, from what I've been told, the Blazers, Jeremy Grant and Damian Lillard had Jeremy convinced to try and leverage his way here this summer. They told that
had
Jaylen Brown, sorry, and they had the Boston was in a situation where they were looking at it the same way that Cronin's kind of looking at Dame, where do I want to pay Jaylen Brown Supermax, or I could get Scoot and Anthony, you know, and like that's a really good haul for Jaylen, and I don't have to worry about paying him, or I don't have to worry about paying Scoot or Ant for 3 or 4 years. So it was right there. And so what I heard was that when Dame went to them and said, hey, Jaylen's willing to come on board, the Blazers were so scared that they would accept the offer that they didn't even want to talk to Boston about the offer. And they only brought up the third pick in teams that they knew wouldn't accept their offer. And
like Bam.
Like Bam, right?
Like, why would the Miami Heat, coming off a finals appearance, trade Bam Adebayo for a draft pick?
Right. And then the Mikal Bridges thing. So they called about Mikal. They obviously weren't offering the third pick right away. They tried to get him elsewhere. But, I mean, we know this. Brooklyn said he's untouchable. We're not trading him. Okay, and so then the Blazers were like, okay, well, we can just leak that we offered the third pick or whatever, and they wouldn't accept it because they said no, like there's nothing you can offer us that we're trading Mikal for, and so they leaked all these trades. They knew they knew we weren't trading with Masai. Even their stupid report today that we were offering Anthony and multiple firsts for OG. There's no way. Those are all fake to try to get public perception back in their favor, because for some weird reason they just cannot admit that they moved on from Dame and chose Scoot, and this is where I have a problem, and why I'm so upset is because they just led Dame along and lied to him, and now instead of just admitting that they chose Scoot, they are now trying to make it seem like Dame did something, or Dame is the one that asked out and he's being paid all this money, and they were still trying to win. Like, they weren't even willing to listen to offers. So I don't know.
Which is why all the people defending Joe Cronin are extremely frustrating for me. And do you guys remember that stream like a week and a half, 2 weeks before the draft? And a lot of people were saying this is a depressing stream because, Eric, you brought up the possibility that they wanted to go with Scoot instead of Dame.
Yep.
That wasn't just a random hypothetical we decided to talk about for no reason.
Yep. And everyone was like, go back to being positive.
Yeah, so, we did, and I was still hopeful that maybe that wasn't true. But, I mean, we... Go ahead.
I've told you this. I don't know if I said it on our last show or whatever, but I was hearing this for months. I didn't believe it, that Cronin was enamored with going the rebuild route and that he really doesn't want to build around Dame. Like, I just thought there was no way that was true. But I've heard this possibility for months.
Yep. So that leads us to where we're at now. And that's why I'm so freaking pissed off at this organization. That's why the team needs to be sold, because I assume that Burt Cole, Jody Allen have a part in this. And it's just disgusting.
Yeah. Well,
and basically this whole organization needs a complete shakeup at the top.
This is their part. They wanted this situation to, like, Joe's job was basically to do just enough to keep Dame happy here long enough to where they could buy time for the right position where they wanted him to ask out. They didn't want to be the ones that traded him without him asking out. And two, they wanted it to be a situation where they could get like the best possible outcome of him leaving. And like Scoot, the opportunity to get Scoot was probably not enough to say like this is better than having Dame, but it was their best chance at like justifying getting someone who is hyped up enough that could possibly replace him, if that makes sense.
Yeah, somebody that they can use to still sell tickets, somebody who's on a cheaper contract so they can just save a bunch of money while still trying to maximize profits via ticket sales. I mean, this ownership group, we've talked about how cheap they are, and people were, we keep hearing the narrative that Jody's willing to go into the tax. We heard that going into this offseason, like, yeah, she's still willing to pay for a winner. Guys, this Portland Trailblazers organization is hellbent on controlling the messaging around the organization, and a ton of people completely buy it, and it's extremely frustrating. And I got in a Twitter argument with someone, and they were saying, I'll trust this specific person who's credentialed, and I don't want to name names because I'm not really calling this person out, but basically this reporter has a direct link to Joe Cronin. And what I said was, what they report is going to probably have a positive spin for Joe Cronin, because their messaging is coming basically directly from Joe Cronin. And this organization obviously cares about the messaging. I mean, they said, we're still committed to building a winner, but But Dame, made a trade request. We're still committed to win, though. What have they done in free agency to showcase that? They haven't done a single thing. I don't know what happened with the Jeremy Grant contract extension. Maybe you have some information on that. But outside of that, that's the only thing they've done. They have not shown that they're committed to building a winner. They literally haven't done anything. All they did was draft 3 draft picks and trade away Josh Hart at the deadline for a late first and Cam Reddish, who they didn't even keep. So it's very obvious to me that they care about their perception, which all organizations do, but they're willing to go to no ends to try and spin things in a positive way for the organization, because what their actions have done haven't matched up with their words. Jody Allen's never paid the tax. They've always ducked the tax. Mm-hmm. They've never made a win now move to put themselves into the tax. All their moves have been based around ducking the tax. But you're still hearing reports that, Jody's still willing to pay the tax for a winner. You heard that this offseason. How many offseasons in a row have we heard little rumors and reports about how Jody actually is willing to pay? And I've, talked to Steve and Vaughn, talked to you, like, it's come from basically a little bit of everywhere. And the actions don't match up with that. The actions of building a winner around Dame, or the narrative of building a winner around Dame, and we're going to be super aggressive and pushing our chips in and all that, their actions have not matched up with that either. So not once. This organization just straight up lied and misled people, misled Dame, and that's why Dame made a trade request. Shoot, if they didn't mislead Dame so hard, I don't even know if Dame would have requested a trade because of how badly he seems to want to be here. Yep. But they chose Scoot Henderson over Damian Lillard, and they misled everyone in the process. And they've been trying to mislead people for the past couple of years, at least Joe Cronin has, in terms of building a win around Dame. And before that, Jody Allen wasn't willing to pay the tax with Neil Olshey either. So it pisses me off, man. We are the worst ran organization in the league because you don't do this to someone like Dame, who's been as loyal as Dame, put up with as much crap from this organization as Dame. You don't do that to him, and then you don't try and turn the fan base against him. That is as shameful of a thing for an organization to do that I've maybe ever seen. And it frankly pisses me off. I'm still going to cover the team just because of you guys in the community, right? Like, it's fun to root on a team with you guys specifically, and then, Sharpe, Scoot, whatever, like, I'll be invested in the players on this team, but my fandom goes that far. That's it. Because right now, the way this organization is ran, especially at the top, is freaking shameful and pathetic. Shameful and pathetic. If I go to a game this year, it's because I want to show up and hopefully be part of a chant of sell the team. That's it. I otherwise don't want to spend a dime on this team because they don't deserve it.
Dame's return, maybe.
That'll just make me sad as hell, man.
Yeah, true.
This is the saddest thing I've ever had to go through as a sports fan in my life.
So there's two branches I want to go on to. The first one is, it is a complete fallacy, and this is the other thing that pisses me off. People will say they had to go back on their word. There was no one they could have traded the third pick for to be a contender. Dame has never said they had to be a contender right with the third pick and be a contender. He just wanted them to keep their word and build towards winning instead of completely tearing it down at every step they could take. It's always tear it down. We're building assets to go all in. We're building assets to go all in. Don't worry, all these 5 seconds, we're going to get someone good this summer because that's the new currency of the NBA. And then they don't do crap with them, right? And they just keep their draft picks, all 3 of them, right? Cronin even said that they didn't even take calls for the 23rd pick once they thought Chris Murray could fall to them.
Yeah.
But anyways, so that's like a complete fallacy. Like, Dame just wanted them to get some veteran help and have a chance to make the playoffs first and then continue to build on that. So they make the playoffs. They are a good team. You at the trade deadline, then you, instead of trading Josh Hart away for a draft pick and Cam Reddish, you trade him or you keep him or you trade him for someone that could help you make the playoffs this year, right? Like, it's not about contending. Dame just wants them to show that they're at least building towards that. But then when you go into a meeting with him on Monday and you are not happy with the picks, and they're still lying to you saying, don't worry, free agency, first day, we're going to do something. We've got all this stuff planned. We will make this up to you for keeping the picks. And then they don't freaking do a damn thing on Friday other than re-sign their own player. They
don't even contact Dame.
Not even a single move. Like, they didn't make a small trade. They didn't sign like a Jay Crowder for the minimum or something, just like a veteran player. They couldn't even do that. This whole thing, they wanted him to ask out at a certain point a few months ago. It's all been leading to this. They got what they wanted. They're still trying to convince you that that's not what they wanted because of perception, but they were doing backflips when Dame finally requested out, because now they don't have to do all that. They can believe that Ryan Repair and Chris Murray are going to be starting forwards for Scoot and Sharpe, and they're gonna win better. And that's what leads me to my other point. They actually think they can be better without Dame. They actually think that. They think that they are going to go for it. They're going to win, and they're going to start making moves that Dame would have loved, right? And it's going to make me mad even more, right? So they're going to start making moves and trades, because now they don't have like they're not going to have to worry about the tax after this year, because they're probably going to get an expiring contract for Dame, and so they'll be way closer to the floor than they are the max the tax line. So they're actually going to be able to make moves and do stuff, and Scoot and Sharpe are still cheap, so they're really going to be things. So they're going to go get some veterans. That's why they re-signed Jeremy Grant, because they think they can be good still this year. And they're going to go for it. And that's part of the reason why you're hearing this narrative that they want a star player back for Dame instead of picks and assets and stuff, is because they think if they got like a Jaylen Brown, they could plug him in at the 3 and be better than they were last year with Dame. So the funny thing is, or it's not funny, because if they freaking trade Dame for Jaylen Brown, after he had him convinced to come here and play with him, and they chose Scoot over Dame and Jaylen Brown, they chose Scoot and Jaylen Brown, that would just be the very last FU to Dame. And like I don't even know like how that would work, or why like Boston would do that, or why we would do that. But if they do that, man, that's why do you think it came out that Dame didn't want Boston all of a sudden? Like, why would he not want to go to Boston, right? Mm-hmm. Remember a couple weeks ago when it came out that there's just one random team, Boston, that he didn't want to go to? It's because he's been talking to Brown, and then they screwed him over with the Brown deal, and then he knows that if he gets traded there, it's going to be for Brown, and Brown's been telling him how bad it is in Boston and how he doesn't want to be there. So that's the whole thing. That's why he said he didn't want to go to Boston. So then if they trade him to Boston after all that, that's just like the ultimate like diss on him. And I don't understand how they went from telling us all that they want to win with Dame and want to do everything and are fully 100% committed to Damian Lillard, to now like trying to backstab him at every turn.
I don't even know if Olshey would have been this crappy. I don't even know if Olshey had this level of crappiness in him.
Well, Olshey also threw Dame under the bus once he left, but
yeah, who am I kidding? I mean, this is just straight out. It's like the GM hasn't changed. Mm-hmm. It's like the GM hasn't changed, man.
Well, the thing is, Olshey wouldn't have promised Dame.
Yeah,
he would trade the pick. He just wouldn't have said that. He would have just said, yeah.
I mean, you can already tell that Cronin gets in trouble with his words just by listening to them, and how he contradicts himself. Yeah. Especially the draft night press conference was a direct contradiction to his exit interview, and that's why we were cracking up. I was dying because I was thinking about everything he said in his exit interview, and it was just so completely opposite. It was actually impressive how bad it was. And People just excuse away with like, well, things change. They got Scoot, so things change. It's just Cronin said things in his exit interview that he couldn't even live up to. 4 months later, he's saying the opposite because that's what his actions are. So you can already tell he's the type of guy to like say something and say what he thinks sounds right, but not think about the ramifications of that. Mm-hmm. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if he promised Dame this and that. Not at all.
Except for when he said Scoot was 6'4", and then he knew immediately that he shouldn't say that, and then tried to like fumble over his words that he was 6'2" and a half, and then wait, no, we call him 6'3", 6'3" and a half. And I just want to clarify because there's probably some people that didn't watch our previous shows when we told you about this promise. So the promise was obviously if they got the first pick, they were keeping it. Cronin made that very clear. But the second pick or any other pick, they promised Dame that it would be the best trade asset in the league and that they would move it to get him help now. And so Dame was on board with keeping the pick if it was Wembanyama because, I mean, it's a generational prospect. He understands we're not going to trade it, whatever. Also,
I think he wants to play with Wembanyama.
We're one digit away from this all becoming a non-issue and just getting Wembanyama, and then it could have Cronin and Jody could have had the best of both worlds, the most tantalizing prospect maybe ever, along with keeping Dame. Like, that would have been their dream situation, right? It's
why I said getting Wembanyama solves every issue facing this organization.
Yeah.
Issues that you guys didn't even know about.
So Dame's not dumb. If they got the second pick, he's being told they're trading it. Okay? He's not being told, oh, we might, like, Scoot's, like, really good. Are you sure? Like, we might want to try to make that work with you. They said, no, if we get the second pick, we are trading it. So it doesn't matter that the promise happened before the lottery. It matters that they lied because they went through this scenario to convince him to sit out. And to anyone who doesn't think this promise is real or whatever, still, even after Chris Haynes said it today and Mark Stein talked about it for like 10 minutes, you just have to realize that you're basically calling Dame's question or character into question because there is no way he would be dishonest about a promise. And there's also no way he would sit out and not go for the playoffs and purposely tank if that was not something that was strongly told to him that would happen if he did it. There's no way. He was fighting for the playoff spots. He talked about that every game, how they weren't out of it. They could still make it and all that stuff. They were
2.5 games out of fourth at the deadline. They weren't.
Yeah. So like for anyone who thinks that like Dame is in the wrong here, he just signed a contract 1 year ago and he's already backing out of it. They completely threw him under the bus, lied to him, betrayed him, and weren't even what did Dame say on his exit interview? I have talked to several people that want to be here and play here, right?
Yeah.
And they didn't care. They didn't care that he had done that. He went out and recruited. He finally got people to come here and be with Dame, who wanted to win with Dame, starting with Jeremy last year, and it was going to continue into this summer, and they basically chose Scoot over all that. And you can talk all you want. I don't care. This has nothing to do with Scoot Henderson. He's great. I'm actually looking forward to seeing him and Sharpe. We get to see him in a couple days here on Friday, I think it is their first game, right? That's going to be a lot of fun. We basically have our regular team in the summer league, so cool. But this has nothing to do with Scoot. That option is fine if you are honest about it. But they still, to this day, have not even like been honest with Dame about it, and they're not being honest with us about it. Just be honest about it. You don't have to say you're tanking. Just say Scoot is so freaking good that we believe in him, and like, unfortunately, it had consequences for our belief in Scoot, but we decided to hitch our wagon to Scoot, and that's fine. That's fine. I would at least give him credit for being honest, at least.
Yeah, but they won't. I mean, look at the lengths that they've gone to control the narrative. Look at the lengths they've gone to. Honesty is not really what they're concerned about. They're concerned about public perception. They're concerned about the fan base not turning on them while they run out the greatest player in franchise history and maybe the most loyal star in the sport. It's really hard to justify that. And that's currently what they're trying to do. So, extremely frustrating, man. Like, I know some people just want to move on and be excited about the young guys, but, like, I can't just sit there and just be like, oh, whatever, I'm excited about Scoot and Sharpe. Nothing else matters, because you're excited for Scoot and Sharpe when they're playing for an organization that will do this to Damian Lillard. If they're willing to do this to Damian Lillard, I mean, who knows what they're willing to do next?
Yeah, I mean, that's... But, like, I think Dame would have understood maybe if you go to him at the beginning of the off season, or like maybe after you get the third pick or something, and you say, look, Dame, I know we promised you this, but like, I really like this might be an opportunity we can't pass up. But Dame, up until a few days ago, still thought they were going to fulfill their promise, because they kept telling him they were.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't understand how people buy everything from this organization they're turning on Dame, but yeah, I don't even know what else to say, man. I mean, I think we've summarized the situation pretty good up to this point. So, what do you think is currently happening regarding this front office and its trade requests?
Well, before we move on, let me just address one thing, and that's what's happening in chat. Dame's being paid max money. What do you expect? He's getting his loyalty and his money. Dude, he's a max player. He's one of the best players in the league. He's a top 75 player of all time. He has earned that money. There are max contracts in the NBA. They're slotted at certain percentages. He has earned every cent of that. And it has nothing to do with loyalty or lies or anything like that. Dame wanted to be here and win. Why are we turning on someone who wanted to be here, like one of the few people in this entire NBA that would have been drafted by the Blazers and wanted to stay here his whole career and win with them and actually mean it? And it wasn't that hard to fulfill that, like, to make him want to stay here. All you had to do was some small moves along the way, and not lie to his face. And everything he's done in the Portland area and stuff like that, like, and you're going to try to turn on him because he's made the NBA contract amount that every star gets? Like, no, man, lose me with all that. It has nothing to do with his contract or anything, and his compensation does not grant Joe Cronin and Jody Allen the right to lie to his face and then backstab him and betray him and throw him under the bus to the fans.
Yep.
But anyways, so currently, what I believe is going on is the Blazers are still trying to put up the charade that Dame is being ridiculous and asking out and that blindsided them, right? So they're trying to act tough, but like I said earlier, but behind the scenes, they're ecstatic. They can't wait to trade Dame, and so they're just trying to make this go a little further, to like make it seem like they're really upset and they're really trying really hard to make sure they get the best deal. They already have a deal in place. They're going to trade him in a few days. But like, I mean, I don't know how long a few days might be, a few weeks. They might try to, like, who knows with them at this point, but they already know basically where he's going, what's coming back and all that. There might be some little details like third teams and stuff involved that aren't locked in yet, but everything else is just like the stupid Ant and multiple picks for OG today. No, man, they didn't really try to do that. And it's just so they can blame Masai in Toronto for not being able to get anything done when we all knew it. How many months have I been telling Tori, you, and everyone else that Toronto, I'm not even going to discuss Toronto trades because it's just not even an option. It won't be an option. It's completely off the table, right? I told you guys that months ago, right?
Yep. Sorry, I'm responding to just ludicrous bullshit in chat, but go on.
Yeah. So, like, the Toronto thing, like, all of that was just part of that process of them using, look, see, we tried so hard. It was Masai that wouldn't trade with us. It was the Nets that wouldn't trade with us. The Heat wouldn't trade Bam. Oh, the Pelicans wouldn't trade Zion. See, there was nothing we could do. We tried everything. We exhausted every opportunity. Yeah. Nope. That was all lies.
Yep. I mean, there's people blaming Dame for asking out to a super team. Like, Dame didn't want to force his way out. The Portland organization, Portland's front office forced his way out. They were the ones who turned on him. So Dame's like, all right, well, I want to go play with my guy Bam in Miami, and I want to play with Jimmy Butler, and I want to try and win a ring because this organization turned on me. Like, and we're gonna get mad at him for that, really, for wanting to go to Miami, for wanting to go to a specific team. It's not even like they're a super team. They were a few possessions away from missing the playoffs this year. Just because they went on a huge run doesn't mean they're some unbeatable super team. Like, we're calling Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, and role players a super team now? Really? Like, that's the whole thing, is like, there's a portion of the fan base that wants to twist the context of the situation to try and make Dame out as more of a bad guy, and that's been one of them. I've seen people compare him to KD, which is just ridiculous. I've seen the whole thing like Miami's a super team, which they're not. And people were making it out like Dame forced his way out, and Dame turned on the organization. I mean, and here's the thing, because there's a comment earlier, and I responded to it in chat, but basically, like, we're just in our emotions. But you just brought more information on the situation than anyone else has, and it all lines up with everything that's happened, and you have legitimate reporters that are also reporting similar things. Chris Haynes, Mark Stein,
and
everything
you've for months.
and you've been ahead of it for a while. So how is Eric having information and coming to conclusions based on all this information? How is that being in our feelings and not just operating based on the information? Because, like, yes, I'm upset about it, but I'm upset about it because of this, because of what happened. It's not some unhinged, illogical bullshit.
And all the front offices, like Cronin's words and stuff, was that Dame was everything to this organization. Like, it's his words too. So was he being emotional all the times he said it?
Yeah. Heat Lifer says, people have been acting like the Heat suck, but as soon as we could get Dame, we are a super team. Yeah, congrats, man. Congrats. You got one guy who was an all-star last year. Like,
I mean, was
Jimmy even?
They were down 6 with a few minutes left in the play-in game. Almost didn't even make the playoffs.
Yeah. There's more parity in the league now. It's not that. It's because, like, there really aren't super teams. There's parity, so the 8 seed can make the finals. like Milwaukee collapsed. Then they faced the Knicks. And then they beat the Celtics, who just had their heads in their asses for the first 3 games and almost came back. And then they got eviscerated by the Nuggets. You know? I mean, this is not some super team. But people want to make it out to be a super team so they can be mad and act like Dame lied. But Dame didn't want it to come to a point where he was forcing his way out to a super team. His hand was forced by this organization and all the decisions and all the things that they've done that have led up to this point. So he wants to go play with Jimmy Butler, who's his type of guy, and Bam Adebayo, who he's great friends with. And it's Miami. Like, we're seriously gonna blame him for that when he was forced to that point? Come on.
I got caught up on donations.
Yeah. Shout out to Yasha Kuzman, $5 donor, says, I know the focus is on Lillard, but what kind of jump in production are you expecting out of Sharpe with a bigger role? Hopefully he doubles his scoring average, so he's averaging 20 points per game, so this stings a little bit less. I don't know what to expect out of him, because if he's starting and he's the number 2 guy or whatever, like, that's different than playing for a tanking team and being the number 1 guy, but against teams you're losing by 20 against. That's easy. Josh Hart averaged 20 points per game doing that. So, I'm hopeful, but Sharpe still has a ways to go to get to star level, and hopefully he makes just some legitimate progress towards that. I just feel like the expectations for Sharpe are maybe a little bit too optimistic because of that stretch last year. I'm not going to rule anything out that he can or can't do. Like, he could make a huge jump next year, absolutely. It's just... I'm not exactly sure what he's going to be next year, and I think just basing what he's going to be off his play for a tanking team down the stretch is going to end up with your expectations a little bit over-optimistic.
Yeah, I think, things can still change, but right now, Scoot, I think we'll start at the 1, Ant at the 2, Sharpe at the 3, and then Ant will play some 1, backup 1, and then Sharpe will play the backup 2. So they'll get 36 minutes between the 3 of them. So that... Yeah. What are you laughing
Sorry. Because the person that just donated that we just read off had a comment 2 minutes ago that said, you probably shouldn't take your frustration out on people who subscribe and send super chats. Not saying you owe me anything or whatever, but it's kind of bad form. We're responding to what you're saying in chat. Okay. No, hold on. Just because you donate doesn't mean you can then just say, oh, you guys are just being over emotional, and then expect us not to respond to that. It doesn't just get, like, what do you expect? Paying $5 on a super chat does not mean that we're just going to take whatever and be like, yeah, you know what? You are right. We are being over emotional. You were just not going to respond to that. And it's not like we're sitting here insulting you or anything. We're responding to you saying we're over emotional. And that's that, saying that everything we're saying is just because we're emotional is BS, because it's based on stuff. It's based on substance. It's just a false statement. So if you, to anyone in chat, we appreciate every dono, like truly do. And we will read off every dono. We're about to read off all the latest ones, but it does not mean that then you can say whatever statement you want about us and not expect us to at least speak back against it if it's false.
Yeah.
Like Yasha, thank you for the $5 dono.
Well, you're Mike Richmond, I guess, according to him. He said, hey, Mike and Eric, I'm sorry, guys. Texting through comments probably loses something in translation with levity. Still going to watch your stuff. Just maybe lose the ludicrous bullshit.
Well, bro, if you just say... Let me read off your comment that I responded to, okay? Let me find it. Because it was ludicrous. Like, it was a statement you made about us.
Well, you probably missed this in the Discord earlier, Tori, but there was someone who, I said something. I was trying to answer questions and stuff, and so I said something, and then someone posted something because someone from the Discord went to a different Blazer Discord and posted all this stuff saying what an idiot I was and how delusional I was, and so someone told us in the Discord about it, and the person then said, oh yeah, you guys just ban anyone with an opinion and we're all idiots and stuff like that. And I'm like, you literally are calling me names. I have done nothing to you. I have said nothing to you. And he just started going off about how, yeah, ban me because that's what you always do, blah, blah, blah. It's like, I haven't done anything. I was talking basketball and you went to a different forum to talk crap about me behind my back. And now we're coming in here to talk crap to me. I don't know.
Yeah, not gonna mess with people that do that stuff, you know? Yasha, you said, OMG, backstab him? I like you guys and I enjoy your podcast, but you are in your feelings on this one. Feelings in all caps. That's ludicrous. That's BS. Like, saying we're in our feelings is ludicrous and BS. That's not going at you.
I'm pissed off.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Here's what I've been dealing with, and it's driving me crazy, okay? I'm tired of people acting like because we're upset about this stuff, Eric, that means everything we say is therefore automatically illogical, and what we're saying has no substance to it, and we're just in our feelings. Like, I've had multiple people say that, and it's actually quite insulting to think that because we're upset about something, that means we can't logically think about it. Because that's basically how it comes across to me. So if you say we are in our feelings, I will tell you that statement about us is ludicrous and BS. That's not going at you. That's responding to you coming at us. Which I'm not just gonna, take, lightly just because you donate. If you make a statement about us like that, I'll respond. I'm not going at you. Don't come at us then if you don't want me to give it back. Like, that's the thing. That's the thing. People come in here and they don't expect it to be a two-way street. They don't expect the people with a platform to give them the same energy back, because we're supposed to be professional, right?
They're anonymous.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's not even. I'm not even saying anything personal. That statement is just ludicrous. To imply that we are illogical because we're in our feelings. Like, Eric just brought a ton of information. And that's all I responded with. Eric's brought a ton of information. You've brought a ton of information to this, and everything that has happened matches up with your information, and there's other people corroborating it. That's more logical than anything else I'm hearing.
And on top of that, okay, I am in my feelings. Who cares? I'm also giving you logical explanations and information. So I can go through it. I'm mad. I was crying the other day on air. Like, you guys saw me. Yeah, I was in my feelings. So, like, that doesn't discredit a single thing I've said because I'm in my feelings. Like, Dame got backstabbed. Whether you want to admit it or not, they promised Dame sit out. You do not tell a top 75 player of all time to sit out games. We will take care of you, and then go back on that word. And that cost him being first team All-NBA. That cost him a chance at going to the playoffs. That's meant a lot to Dame personally. That was not something he just took lightly, and they completely took his loyalty for granted and took advantage of it, took advantage of Dame. That is backstabbing and betrayal. Like, whether you want to say I'm in my feelings about it or not, yes, I'm mad. I'm upset about it, so I'm in my feelings, I guess. But it doesn't change the fact that is completely wrong to do to Dame, and this organization, in my mind, is complete scum.
Yep. So, yeah, don't give us crap for us being emotional or upset or in our feelings, and expect us to not give you crap for that statement, just the way it is. Like, it's not even personal. But, whatever. Shout out to Murray, $2 Australian dono, says, people saying Dame doesn't deserve his choice. Yeah, I mean, we need to talk about that in a second. We'll read off the rest of the donos. Thank you, Murray. Shout out Liam Best, $2 Australian dono, says, Jody gotta save pennies to buy more penguin bones. Yeah, good old Jody, man.
Good old Jody. It will be fascinating. Both if the team... I mean, the team's going to be exciting, obviously. They have exciting players. But let's just say they're like 22-60 next year or something. It will be interesting to see how much fan support they have. And then at the same time, if they're like good, it will be interesting to see how the narrative changes if they're like fighting for a playoff spot like they did in Dame's rookie year and stuff.
Yep. Shout out to Screepy, $2 dono, says, love the show. Has Billups said anything yet? No, he has not. He did not look happy after the draft, though.
Yeah. I think I've not heard anything since the Dame request about Billups, other than there was a report Dame talked to him the night before he requested. But what I've heard from Billups prior to this is that he has been just as unhappy with Dame on their lack of action, their lack of fulfilling words that they've said they were going to do. Like Joe told everyone that the team needed length and stuff in the front court, and then, doesn't get that, and then drafts a 6'2" point guard as the cornerstone of the future, right? So Chauncey isn't happy because he signed up for a team that was supposed to be going for it and winning in Dame's prime, and instead he's now coaching a team that tanked 2 years in a row and now is going to be still tanking. And I don't think he's gonna resign or anything, because obviously I don't know if he gets another coaching job after this if he resigns right now, and it's a good opportunity still for him to learn. But I don't think he's too happy about now basically a third year in a row of maybe tanking.
Yeah. Let me just thank Yasha's $2 dono, just to get this over with. Thank you, Yasha, for the $2 dono. Says, dap and move on with being cool. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to hold a grudge or let it linger, you know what I mean? If you make it, if there's a statement made about us that I don't like, and I give you some crap for it back, if that's all it is, that's all it is. I don't care. I'll move on. I deal with much worse. So, it's not personal. It's all good. Yeah, we're fine. Thank you for the dono. Shout out to Isaiah W, $5 dono. What's up, Isaiah? Says, the pick landing top 3 was the end of Dame in Portland. Any chance we can start a sell the team petition? Let's go, Uncle Phil. Thank you, Isaiah. Yeah, I mean, I want nothing more than this team to be sold, but petitions, we could have a billion signatures on a petition, and it's not going to change anything.
The fantasy now is a LeBron-like return to Cleveland for Dame under new ownership, new GM, new everything. The young guys are grown up in a couple of years and ready for a veteran Dame to help them get over the top. That would be the storybook ending, Portland, whether it's Phil Knight or whoever steps in and saves not only the Blazers from Jody Allen, but the Dame legacy in Portland as well. That's probably the best case scenario right now, but that's a movie ending, so it's probably not going to happen, but that would be incredible if it did, and that's probably the best we can hope for with trading Dame right now.
Yep. Shout out to Iosu Estremera with a €5 dono. Says, morning guys, I'm still grieving. My only bond to the Blazers at this point is you and this community. Well, thank you, Iosu. I mean, my biggest bond to the Blazers at this point is also this community. So, in some ways, it's maybe more emotionally invested in the team, which might be for the worst, but also it's made it so that, I can vent I don't know, the community's awesome, so it's gifted me something awesome as well. Met a lot of cool people through this, and a lot of people I haven't actually truly met, like you, are just cool people. So thank you for being a part of the community. Thank you for the dono. Shout out to Jude Grant, $2 dono. Says, trade Dame to best team or best trade package. Thank you, Jude. We're going to have that conversation after we finish the donos. Shout out to Snack and K, $5 dono. Says, hypothetically, would Dame have been happy with the Herb Trey package for 3?
I have no idea, because the Cronin would have never considered it. So
yeah,
I would never know. But I mean, getting 2 veteran wings or not, I know they're not veterans, but they're good enough, proven wings that could help Dame win. He would have been stoked, probably. Yeah.
Shout out to Murray, $2 dono. Says, Dame about to blow the whistle on Joe. I can feel it. I hope he does, but that's not the type of thing for Dame to do. But at some point, you poke the bear too many times,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think our best hope is for Nurk to do it, and I asked Nurk to do it yesterday.
Yeah,
but I think that's our best shot, because Dame's just not like that. I mean, somewhere down the road, maybe he'll answer a question honestly, but I think he'll just take the high road. He even said so in a tweet yesterday that he's going to take the high road and not say anything, which also implies that there is something to say, but if he has to take the high road on it, right?
Yeah. Greg, can we not do this thing where, like, any positive statement someone says about Scoot is therefore a shot at Dame? Like, can we not do that? Can we not do that, man? Because Gray basically brought up Jabari Walker. I had a quote today. He said about Scoot, he said, he's not selfish at all. He loves to get off the ball. He's a true point guard. And Gray added in that Jabari said, that's what we needed. Which isn't part of the quote. It's just completely made up. And he added in the that's what we needed part to Jabari, so it could be like a negative thing towards Dame. And now it's like, see, he's talking trash about Dame. So the hype. Can we not? Can we not invent narratives and put words in people's mouth and make a positive statement said about Scoop by one of his teammates to be a shot against Dame? Come on, man. That's just silly. Like, anyway, does he say that's what he needs? Because that's not in the quote I saw. So we need that. You said that's what we needed, which is past tense. We need that. Isn't past? That's too. Yeah. That's a completely different context between we need that and that's what we needed. He's like, that's what we needed implies we were missing that last year. We didn't have somebody unselfish last year. Then, yes, it would be a shot against Dame. But saying we need that, I don't know, man. Like,
he's probably not thinking about Dame, though. He's thinking about the team that's there right now in Summer League.
Like, I know you don't like Dame's game, Gray. I know you don't like it, but at this point, Dame is basically gone. You got what you wanted. You don't need to make things a shot against Dame. It's just not really necessary. Like, it's not really necessary, man. Jabari isn't just gonna randomly send shots about Dame. Like,
Jabari's not the type of guy either.
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of silly, man. Like, you don't need to make a positive about Scoot out to be a negative against Dame. I don't want to do that all year because it's just going to be frustrating. It's going to cause arguments, and it's pointless. And it's not really founded on anything, so hopefully we won't do that this year, okay? Shout out to Dro with a Drono, $5 Drono. Says, Cronin has a plan, quote-unquote. I just want to know what that plan is. Oh, wait, it was to kick Dame out of PDX. What an absolute shame. Couldn't even sign vet minimums. Yeah, not a single vet minimum. Day one, you know, like, that's the thing, is you want to show Dame you at least do something in terms of getting a veteran, like you said you would? Just sign someone to a vet min. He's done nothing. He's done absolutely nothing. So... Shout out to Brian P. $5 dono says, do you think Joe is getting directed from above, or is he just a bad GM?
Well, both can be true. One, I think the direction of the team to never go in the tax and to always do enough to try and keep Dame happy, but not anything that could jeopardize them possibly having a great young core of the future that was cheap and good. I think that both can be true, but if we just take out, let's just say you're a GM of a small market team and you have to stay under the tax. Okay, so let's go back through his moves. He thought Keon had more value than he did in that trade. He thought Eric Bledsoe's contract would have more value. Missed on both of those. He still probably thinks Justice Winslow was a good move. I guess if you want to say if he was healthy, maybe, but you know he wasn't going to stay healthy. The CJ trade, he completely failed to negotiate what would happen if the Pelicans got what they wanted out of the trade, and that was to make the play-in and make the playoffs. But it was at the expense of the Lakers, so they ended up with a pick between 5 and 14 that they were willing to give CJ if it was their own pick, up for CJ if it was their own pick, but somehow didn't have to give up that pick when they made the playoffs and were better, and our compensation got worse because they got better with the trade. Made no sense, so he failed in the protections there. He failed to, instead of giving Nance up in that trade for the TPE, just asking the Clippers to combine the trades, and that would have created the same, or actually a much bigger TPE, and they could have then used that and had more of a TPE, so and still had an answer or gotten something from him elsewhere. And then go to last off season. So they make the decision to keep the pick. And Dame was fine with that, right? Because they said they would, other than this, we'll do this, right? That's what they kept saying. So then instead of signing someone that could help in the front court or a legit backup center, we use our mid-level exception on someone who needed core surgery. Still would like to know either why we didn't know that, or why a physical wasn't performed on Gary Payton, or why we didn't at least check into his injuries, because it was well known he was injured in the playoffs. But needing surgery a few days after signing would probably lead people to believe that he definitely should have known, and that's kind of negligent if he didn't know that Gary Payton needed core surgery a couple weeks later. And then the rest of free agency didn't get any vets, and then said wait till the trade deadline to Dame. And then at the trade deadline, he trades Josh Hart for Cam Reddish. He spends 2 second-round picks for Matisse Thybulle, who was not even in the rotation. He brings in Ryan Arcidiacono. Instead of getting Wiseman or some sort of contract he could have used to trade for next year and stayed under the tax last year, still he still made moves, which shows me people will say, well, they wanted to avoid the repeater tax because they were going in the tax this year. Well, all their actions show that they weren't actually going to go into the tax this year, and that was a load of crap. So we didn't get any backup centers. Nurk was hurt at the time, I believe, or was hurt shortly after the trade deadline. We didn't even bother signing anyone, even though we were then $6 million under the tax. Didn't try to sign a buyout guy or anything to try and help Dame or whatever. Instead, we talked him out of playing. And then go to this summer, we end up just keeping all 3 picks. Doesn't sound like we shopped them very hard, if at all, including on draft night where we didn't answer any calls. And then free agency, he re-signs his one guy who he had already had agreement with for a year on the contract. And then doesn't sign anyone else. So even if he is limited by ownership, please tell me what he's done to prove that he can work around the edges or field a competent team or balance out a roster or whatever. So like, even if you ignore the all-in move, just name something he has done to finish out this roster and to fill holes, fill weaknesses, identify weaknesses and address them at trade deadlines or in free agency or whatever. It hasn't happened yet. So I don't get, even if Jody is limiting what he can do, he still brought this upon himself by failing to address anything this team needs.
Yep. Shout out to Jason Hawley, $10 donut, says, I'm 53 years old. 10 years Eric Sr.
9 now, I just started.
Yeah, I was going to say it, and I was like, maybe I should. 10 years. 10 years, 9 years, Eric Cedar. I was watching the pod where Eric shed tears. Know what I did? Figure eights in my apartment in my wheelchair with tears pouring down my face.
Yeah.
the figure eights. Yeah, I mean, it sucks, man. Like Eric was like visibly emotional, and I just felt completely dead inside, and I had just waken up, so that was probably a little part of it. But dude, like, I still feel just dead inside, man.
Jason was at our lottery watch party, so
yeah.
Thank you, Jason, for the donation and for your support throughout the years and stuff. It's nice to get to meet you the other day.
Yep, agreed. The last truly positive moment we got to share together, so that was cool. Little did we know it might be the end of Dame because we moved up.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
You know what's kind of funny, though?
What?
Dame giving the okay to draft Sharpe last year ultimately sealed his fate. So Dame being a team player and allowing them to draft Sharpe started this whole process to where they were like, wait a minute, this is kind of fun. We got this exciting young player, and now we have a chance to do it again. So that ultimately, as like in some weird, ironic way, Dame not demanding them trade the 7th pick last year led to him being ousted from Portland. That's just crazy to think about.
It's sad.
Yeah.
It's sad.
Good night, Yasha. Have a good one.
Shout out to Caleb. I'm tired of the Mike Richmond stuff, man. I don't even... Do I gotta shave the beard, or do I gotta let it grow longer so that I can... Or do I gotta... I wear a hat. Mike Richmond would never wear a backwards hat on a stream. Or on a video. Maybe he would. Those of you who watch him can let me know if he has, I guess. Shout out to Caleb Pendergraft, $5 donut. Says, Portland born, been watching the Blazers since I was 7, and while I remain a fan post-Dame, this is probably the lowest point of my fandom. I miss Paul. Yeah, this is the lowest point of my fandom as well, because I'm a big Blazer fan because I'm from the Portland area and I love basketball, so you mix the two things, I'm going to be a fan of it, but I'm not a fan of the people running the team. And I'm tired of people acting like being frustrated and fed up with the people running the team means that we're not Blazer fans. Because there's a couple comments in chat like that tonight. And it just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. So I'm tired of that. Like, stop questioning people's fandoms.
Yeah, for me, I mean, I just said it was 44. This hurts a lot more than, because like injuries suck. Like the Wes Matthews injury in 2015, it's just like a gut punch, or like it sucks the soul out of you. Greg Oden going down in 2009. Sam Bowie getting hurt. Roy's multiple injuries, and then leading to him. But the thing about those is it's just like unfortunate. It's no one's fault really. The Nurkic injury in 2019, right? Those are just terrible moments, but like it's just unlucky. It's just like a bad break, literally. But like we can't regenerate Brandon Roy's knee or whatever, right? We can't go back and not give Greg Oden microfracture surgery and give him some sort of better treatment or whatever. So this is different, and this hurts more in my mind because this is someone who wanted to be here, wanted to be a Trailblazer, wanted to win for this city more than anything, and we basically treated him like this. That doesn't sit well with me because that's something that they purposely decided that they were going to do, and that to me is unforgivable. You can make a wrong move in free agency or draft the wrong player, and like you can get over those, but just treating a human being like Damian Lillard, who is like one of the best model of your franchise that you could possibly have asked for in a city like Portland, that's what bugs me. And so yeah, I've been through a lot of heartache, a lot of tough losses and stuff like that, but that's not anyone's fault or something that you can specifically blame someone for, whereas this is.
Yep. Sebastian Lupton, $5 donor, says, I honestly think that Scoot can become the next Derrick Rose. What do you guys realistically expect from his first couple of years? Well, okay, I don't want him to become the next Derrick Rose because then his window is going to be shorter than Dame's, unfortunately. You know, like, Derrick Rose came on the scene, was phenomenal, and then all the injuries that happened, like, hopefully Scoot can stay healthier and prolong that, right? But I get what you're saying, like, it's just, I don't know, man. It's hard to become a top 10 player of the league if you're a small guard who's not like an elite 3-point shooter. Like, what guard that was 6'3" or shorter became a top 10 player in the last decade that wasn't an elite shooter? Because Steph, elite shooter. Dame, elite shooter. The only guy you could say is maybe Russell Westbrook. But even he has, like, you know, serious flaws in his game. Scoot's a better mid-range shooter, similar caliber athlete, potentially, like, smarter player, like, at least with some of his decision-making. And Jaws, I don't think Jaws become a top 10 player yet.
I mean, he's
that's
been
the
in
only
the
guy you could
conversation
make a
until
case
the
for.
gun stuff.
Yeah.
I mean,
maybe
he was
see
an MVP.
Maybe Chris Paul. Paul. D Wade was 6'4".
Chris Paul could
6'5".
shoot though. He just doesn't shoot a lot. But like he could still shoot the three though.
Yeah, I mean, Scoot's gonna have to. That's the one thing with Scoot is he has to become an above-average 3-point shooter, which he definitely can. It's just like the guys that Ja and Russ are just such insane athletes. Like, you either got to be an elite shooter or an absolutely elite athlete. Luckily, Scoot is probably in that second tier in terms of an elite athlete. It's just tough, man. Like I don't want this to sound negative. Like, I have confidence in Scoot. I have confidence in Scoot's ability to become a star, potentially a superstar. But I see people out there guaranteeing that he's going to become a superstar. And it's just you know, I feel like it's a little too optimistic. He can become the next Derrick Rose, so I agree with you, Sebastian. I just think in order to justify what the front office has done, like, the expectations on Scoot are insanely high, and I'm a little bit worried as to if he maybe doesn't meet them right off the bat because those expectations are so high.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Derrick Rose won MVP, so he was going towards being a consistent top 10 player until he got hurt, so maybe that is a good comparison, hopefully without the injuries. Scoot's got the personality. He's got the flashiness in his game. He's got the cool name, Scoot. So I think...
Got the aura.
Yeah, it's like set up for him to be a star. Like, so I think if he's like really good, he will become a star pretty quickly, and people will think of him pretty highly. And I mean... They don't really show it in the clips. I think his jumper is fine. He just has to be more consistent with it. But maybe settle a little bit less. Yeah. In terms of shooting mid-range shots, because he loves shooting mid-range shots when I feel like he could get to the rim. Yeah, maybe just focus on playmaking at first instead of scoring, unless it's like on a fast break or something. Yeah, get downhill, collapse the defense, make the right read, shoot the open threes when they're there, and then if you have open pull-ups, go ahead, shoot them. We saw one of them in a practice clip from Summer League practice at the workout facility today. But basically, like, he has all the ingredients to be a superstar outside of maybe the three-point shooting. Because he has a good mid-range pull-up, and he can finish, the athletic, you know, and then all the intangibles, the attitude, the mindset, the aura, the swag, the it factor, whatever you want to say. Like, he has all the ingredients to be a superstar, other than maybe the three-point shot. But still, even if you have all the ingredients, it's really, really hard to become a top 10 player in the world, especially when, like, you're shorter than your average NBA player. It's a tough task, and I don't like guaranteeing that he's going to become a top 10 player, even though he can be. I have a question for chat and you, Tori. Maybe you could do a poll.
Okay, I'll do a poll.
Okay. if the Blazers have someone that is going to be like a top 10 player on their roster, do you have more faith that it's Scoot or Sharpe?
So who is likelier to become a top 10 player?
Yeah. The first 6 votes in chat were all three for Sharpe, 3 for Scoot. Scoot's thought of as the higher prospect, but it is tough for point guards to. There's so many good point guards, whereas like shooting guards and stuff, there isn't as many good ones there. I don't know. What do you think?
I think it'll be Scoot, because when you look at top 10 players at the guard spot, like they can be the offensive engine and like score the ball, but also facilitate at a really high level and just kind of carry offenses, right? Like Dame, Steph, I mean, well, Steph might be the outlier there, but he's the best shooter ever, so that's why. But like Luka, a lot of these perimeter guys that are at the top of the league, even Ja, like they get 7-8 assists a game. They run an offense, they put a ton of pressure on the defense, they collapse defenses and create shots while also still scoring at a super high clip. And I just think Scoot is ahead of Sharpe in terms of reading the game and as a passer and setting up passes and just seeing things that are there. And Sharpe made some improvements last year, but I don't think he'll ever be as good or better than Scoot in terms of making reads and being a passer. And I think Scoot's skills are ahead of Sharpe when Sharpe was, coming into the league. So for those reasons, I have to say Scoot.
Yeah.
Do you agree? What's your thoughts?
I mean, it's tough without seeing Scoot yet in the NBA, but I'm actually leaning towards Sharpe just because I think I trust his three-point shot more, and he's got just as much athleticism, maybe not quite as much burst, but he's shown that he can get his shot. He's got a nice step back or turnaround jump shot that he can get over people. He obviously can finish around the rim very well. I just think he's a little bit bigger and more equipped to do so. But I don't think there's like a wrong answer.
Unless you're like Steph,
yeah,
or even Dame. But the thing is, Dame can get to the rim at an extremely high level and finish really well. Gets to the line, like he's not just a 3-point shooter. Neither is Steph, but like for the most part, I feel like creation and rim pressure and off the dribble stuff is more likely to get you to being a top 10 player than just the 3-point shooting, mid-range shooting is. And I'm not saying that's all Sharpe's game is, but like you look at Ja and he's borderline top 10, and you look at some forwards that are in the top 10. I mean, mostly because A, they're forwards, B, they can get to the rim, put pressure on the rim, collapse defenses, like a LeBron, a Giannis, etc. And even Jokic, Jokic can shoot the 3-ball, but I don't think he's as great as he is. Like, I don't think that's the number one reason why he's as great as he is. You look at top 10 players, and I feel like most of the time it's not necessarily because of the jumper, it's because of how they can carry an offense with the ball in their hands and basically just create at will for that offense.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one thing we haven't seen much of Scoot to know this, but just the progression in Sharpe's game with watching film and then implementing it into his finishing around a Gobert or something last year. And then just the being willing to go guard the other team's best player and stuff like that. Those are things that bode well for me. Obviously, Scoot could have those same traits. We just don't know yet.
I'll say this. I think if we drafted Scoot last offseason and Sharpe this offseason, the poll results would be flipped.
Yeah.
I think, Sharpe being here for a year, we're fond of him because we've seen him for a year now. Where Scoot's the new guy, so I think maybe, because it's a hard decision.
New,
but,
yeah.
Yeah. But here's the thing also. If Sharpe didn't go on that run for the tanking team last year...
Yeah, he'd be getting like 10% of those.
Yeah, so how much of this is based off tanking and how much should we base off tanking? Because here's the thing. When they were tanking, it was basically like G League level anyway. Right? So I don't know. It's just kind of interesting. I feel like the perception of Sharpe is completely different going into this year because of that stretch where they were tanking. And I'm not saying that stretch shouldn't have changed the perception. I just don't know if it should have changed the perception as much as it has. Maybe it should have. Maybe he comes in and plays for a team that is more competitive than we thought and averages 20 a game. I'm not going to rule it out. I just still think a little bit is up in the air with him.
I mean, outside of one game against Herb Jones, he was looking like a star. Like, I thought we had to bench him with 10 minutes left or something against Memphis, so he didn't win a game. Like, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, people are...
you know what it is on a tank team. Like, teams take you lighter,
right.
And
Yeah, for sure.
Don't have the same intensity. And I mean, Trendon Watford his rookie year averaged like 15, 6, and 4 as a starter.
What do you think we're going to be doing this year?
well, Tori, what was the poll result? 60% of people voted Sharpe, 40% voted Scoot.
Someone said, I forgot who it was, sorry, we should do those same poll again after Summer League.
Yeah, we should. Keep this in mind.
Yeah. Someone remind us if we forget.
God, I need the whiteboard.
Yeah.
Maybe I could go find a whiteboard. Maybe there's one here. Maybe I'll have to go look for one. Shout out to we really need to talk about trades. We're getting there, guys. Shout out to God, what was the last one we were on? Pim Arose with a $10 donut says, I love your guys' passion. I've been so frustrated over the past couple of years. The lack of improvement and lack of general direction has been disappointing. Thanks, Pim, for the $10 dono. Yeah, I'm glad. I know a lot of people have been happy to have content that they can relate to in terms of how we look at things. So, I know that our strong opinions, some people can't stand us because of them, but I know that, it is a lot of you enjoy the fact that you simply just have the same opinions as us. Shout out to Gray Hughes of Vesquez, $5 dono says, so do you think we will trade Ant and Nurk still? Nurk's tweet seems like he is 1 foot out the door. I feel like Nurk gets traded in a Dame trade. But maybe they keep him. We'll talk about that in a second. Thank you, Gray. PDX Papermaker.
I do think they'll keep Ant.
Yeah. And start all three of them?
Well, if they weren't getting good offers for Ant, it would be stupid to then trade him for a bad offer, right? So makes no sense. I think he's going to be their best player next year.
Yeah, we get to see if he can become a star, I guess. Didn't want to find it out this way. Wanted to find it out with him on another team, but Ed Halen, you guys have been so negative lately. Oh, I wonder why. Shout out to PDX Papermaker. What, you want to say something?
No.
See, we don't even have to say anything. Like, the situation speaks for itself. I mean, come on now. Shout out to PDX Papermaker, $5 donut. Says, Saturday morning hurt more than this morning with my wisdom teeth. The pain is real in all the ways.
Get better soon. Hope you're okay, Carson.
Yeah, enjoy the pudding or applesauce or Polar Pops or whatever you're eating right now. Thank you, Carson. Shout out to Cole Ray with the $5 donut. Says, I'm really upset, but I agree with 1, Trailblazer fan first, 2, Dame fan second. Do you agree we need to optimize this trade? I want to go at least 500. Thank you, Cole, for the dono. We will discuss this once we're done with the donos. Thank you, everyone, for the support. And I don't even view it as like, gotta be a Blazer fan specifically more so than I'm a Dames fan specifically. Like, I'm a fan of both. And the Blazers did Dame wrong, so I'm pissed at the Blazers, you know? It's like having two children, and you love them equally, right? Like, I love Dame as a player, and I love the Blazers as a team. It's not necessarily like a competition or one or the other. Just the Blazers did Dame wrong, and the people that are a part of the Blazers that did Dame wrong, I hate right now. Yeah. I'm not a fan of them. The Blazers that didn't have a say in that, I'm a fan of them, you know? And that's the players, so.
Yep, completely agree. It's not choosing Dame over the team, but Dame wanted to be here, wanted to be a part of this, and we we kicked him to the curb. So, and those people that have made bad decisions every step of the way are still in charge and are still going to be cheap. So what? And you guys think $60 million in a couple of years from Dame is a lot? Did you see what LaMelo Ball got? In 3 or 4 years, when Scoot and Sharpe are up there, they're going to be making both over $60 million if they're good, or if they're not good enough for a max contract. We're not good anyway, and our rebuild's been terrible. So if they're both good, like people are expecting them to be, they're both going to be making $60-70 million. How do you, if one Dame was the reason why we couldn't field a good team, can you imagine having two players making $70 million? And how are we going to field a good team around them? And like, I don't want to hear those excuses again, because it's all about finding the right pieces around them. And I don't feel confident in this front office to be able to do that and to be willing to do that.
Yeah, I mean, Fred VanVleet just basically signed for the equivalent of like $60 million 4 years from now.
Yeah.
You know, because the cap goes up. $60 million of like a $170 million salary cap is the same as a $40 million contract or of like a $43 million contract for like a salary cap that's $125 million. Or I guess it's $134 million this year. So that's the thing, is the salary cap being higher means that contracts are going to be higher. And it's not like those contracts are technically worth any more of the salary cap. It's just the league's making more money, so players are making more money. It's not inherently worse or inherently more compared to the rest of the league. So that's the thing. That's the landscape. It's just $60 million is like a shocking number when you think about it in today's terms, right? Or, you know, if you're used to like, we're used to contracts in 30 millions that like barely got up into the 40 millions, right? Yeah. So when you see 63 million, it's like, oh my goodness, that's absolutely insane. That the league is making more and more money. They're going to have a new TV rights deal. The salary cap went up. Yeah.
Okay. So
expansion's going to be here.
That's 2 years from now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Scoot will still be on his rookie deal, so it'll be 2 more years at that salary. So we're still 2 years away from being 2 years away from Scoot getting his rookie extension kicking in. And it's 5 years, $260 million now before the TV deal. Can you imagine what those deals are going to be in 4 years when Scoot's eligible? It's going to be insane.
Absolutely. So that's why I hate the whole money argument regarding Dame, because he would have made... Shoot, he might have made more money elsewhere because he wouldn't have had state income tax.
Yeah.
So you can't stand the money argument regarding him. It's just a deflection tactic to me. Shout out to Isaiah W. $2 dono says, at least Scoot and Shea will be really fun. If they're good, yeah. If they're good. You know, they gotta pan out, though. You know, if there's...
I mean, they're like, fun players, but yeah.
Yeah, but basically they were chosen over the best player in franchise history. So, you know, they'll be fun. But they gotta pan out, man. Or else we basically just... I think we made a mistake anyway, but then it's even worse. Shout out to Liam Best, $5 Australian dono, says, people tearing down Dame's game to build up Scoot don't, because he loses that battle unless he ranks top 5 finisher, shooter, ISO, pick and roll player, gravity, etc. Yeah, like, that's the thing is, you know, we were talking about, you know, saying positive things about Scoot, that becomes a negative thing about Dame, like, Scoot's not selfish, you know, as if Dame was. Don't compare those. If you're a fan of choosing Scoot over Dame, you shouldn't want to compare Scoot and Dame. You shouldn't want to, because Dame's the best player in franchise history. Scoot's a 19-year-old who has not played an NBA game before.
And according to pretty much every advanced analytic, Dame was the best offensive player in the league last year. So it's not like he was on his way down or regressing or something like that.
Taylor Packer says, I do think Blazer fans will quickly realize how easy Dame made offense look. Yeah, he was basically a top 5 offense just with mediocre players by himself. You know, we're going to miss that. We're definitely going to miss that, man. We'll talk about next year's team when we talk about trades, which we got a few more donuts to go through. I'm going to do it as fast as I can. Shout out to Dank Burrito, $2 dono, says, let's get the Scoot and Oop era started. Oop being Sharpe. Yeah, I mean, Scoot and transition throwing Oops to Sharpe will be part of that fun that Isaiah was talking about. Shout out Caleb Pendergraph. Yeah. We'll also play half court offense. Shout out to Caleb Pendergraph, $2 dono, says, do the Raptors make sense as a Dame trade location? Masai will probably want us to give him picks for like Gary Trent Jr., so probably not.
We're not going to trade with Toronto. We're not going to trade Dame to Toronto after them basically refusing to do anything with us, too.
Yeah, exactly. Shout out to Brian P., $2 donut, says, do the Pelicans make sense for a Dame location? The Pelicans, Eric.
I don't think they make sense other than if you're talking about what we could get back, it makes sense. But for the Pelicans, reuniting Dame and CJ, like I don't think that makes a lot of sense or is the decision they need to make to get better. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if we're trying to become the number 1 pace in the league, you know, imagine adding Zion to that with Sharpe and Scoop pushing the pace. I mean, talk about lob targets, my goodness. Shout out to We Lacked Intensity, $5 donut, says, you guys work your ass off for this channel. Read chat less for your health. Thanks for being foreplay for my wife and I at night.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you for the dono. At least we get paid to do that, I guess.
No, I don't think you want that, Tori.
Yeah, wait, no.
That's illegal.
Wait. Yeah, I cannot now legally accept this dono, so crap. Anyway, thank you for trying to donate $5. Also, I like interacting with chat, so I'm gonna continue to. Meanwhile, we got a $5 dono from Will7887, says they kicked the most loyal dude like he's not top 10 in the league, and an absolute killer in closing time. Oh, and generally healthy. Tainted epilogue. Well said, Will. Thank you for the dono. Yeah, I feel like we're starting to, not we as in me and Eric and a lot of people in chat, but there is a section of this fan base that is starting to underappreciate Dame as a player. A year after he averaged 32 a game and over 7 assists and did it on the best efficiency of his career. Just silly stuff. Shout out to Jakey, $2 dono, says, imagine Ant goes on to be the Blazers' GOAT and win rings. Hey, man, I mean, I used to imagine that I was in the NBA, and that's probably the same level of unrealistic. No offense to Ant, but man, if Ant averages 32 a game someday, I'll be ecstatic and absolutely floored.
This is the only really reason why I don't know if Ant will do this or not is because obviously Scoot's still going to get the ball a lot, and Sharpe will obviously get touches. So I don't know if Ant can become a distributor with those guys or be the best possible version of himself, like if he got traded to a team without 3 good guards. But I definitely think he's in line to be not only our best player next year, but he's going to have to take those Dame leadership reins. I mean, maybe Jeremy kind of a little bit, but someone's got to step up and become kind of that leader too. Because, I mean, Scoot can eventually do it, but it's going to be hard for him to just step in his rookie year and do it.
I think it will be Scoot his rookie year.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Ant's a quiet guy. Sharpe's a quiet guy. Grant's kind of a quiet guy. Like, who else is it gonna be? I think Scoot has more leadership qualities in terms of just being a verbal leader than anyone on the roster right now, other than Dame, of course. But you know, With Dame gone, I think it's going to be Scoot as a 19-year-old rookie. But he's been leading guys in the G League. Like, he's kind of prepared for it, I think. I mean, but here's the thing, like, leading guys, like, being a verbal leader, I mean, we might not have one guy that's a super verbal leader because we're losing a lot of games and we just go out there each night and just play basketball and that's it. Like,
yeah.
Because here's the thing. If we're starting Dame, or God, I'm so used to saying Dame is the first name. Oh my goodness, it's going to take a long time to get that out of my system. That's just habit. If we're starting Scoot... Oh, man. If we're starting Scoot, Ant, Sharpe, Grant, and then a center that's like not Nurkic, so probably a little bit of a worse rebounder, like, we're going to be one of the worst rebounding teams in the league, and we're going to be a bad defense next year. And who knows how good we're going to be offensively because we don't have Dame anymore. That's why I don't understand anyone that thinks like that roster is going to somehow be better. It didn't improve anything defensively.
Yep.
And rebounding wise, how does it get any better rebounding wise? Like, that team is struggling next year. That team is probably winning less than 30 games next year. Unless they find a way to be a top 5 offense. But, like, if your point guard is a 19-year-old rookie, it's not going to be easy to be a top 5 offense, man. As great as Scoot could be, it's tough. You're replacing Dame with Scoot. Like, how is that going to remain a top 5 offense?
Ryan West says it's hard to accept the new puppy after you've had a dog for a minute. Well, this is like someone killing your dog right in front of you and then trying to say, but I know I just killed your dog, but here's a new puppy for you. It's not nothing against the new puppy. The new puppy could be awesome and great. Not saying anything negative about the new puppy because it's not their fault, but we still could have kept our dog if they didn't kill it. Still had a few good years left in the old boy.
Yeah. If you did things, better, maybe you could have had the dog and the puppy and had them both.
Yep.
And the dog could have been a father figure for the puppy. Okay, I'm going too downhill with this. I don't know. That team, do you agree with what I was saying about that team? Like,
yeah. Yep.
Okay.
I think you hit it.
So, yeah, that team is tanking for about as long as they've tanked the last 2 years. The thing is, we could go into the season probably knowing that, like, for 2/3 of the season, we're going to, like, talk about actual basketball, and I won't be stressed out about winning games because I'd be expecting a tank at the end of the year. The thing is next year's draft is just not... I am just not impressed, Eric.
Yeah.
Like next year, it's going to be hard to get as hyped as we have the past couple of years.
I mean, it could always change. Hopefully, there's always prospects that jump up.
But Ron Holland's a projected top 2 or 3 pick from what I've watched of his game. A little bit, just talking clips here and a couple of videos and stuff. Like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
I don't understand how he's a top 2 or 3 prospect.
Well, I mean, there's always prospects that fall off from being that high and ones that jump up. So,
yeah, but like Buzelis on Take It Thought right now is the projected number 1 overall pick. I mean, he's tall and skilled, but I don't know. I feel like if the Thompson twins were in this year's draft, they would be like, say they didn't enter this draft and they returned for another year or whatever. I feel like they'd be projected 1-2 right now.
Yeah.
So, luckily it's a lot of forwards, though, as I look at this. 6'11", 6'8", 6'9", 6'8", 6'7". Justin Edwards is the Zachary how do you say his last name?
I don't know.
Risache or something.
Gonna butcher it.
Yeah. So, I don't know. We'll see who climbs. I mean, Brandon Miller climbed a ton. He was projected like mid to late first at the start of the season, and they became the number 2 pick. It's just there's no like Wemby or Scoot. There's no Wemby or Scoot. So, I have a feeling we'll find a way to end up with Donovan Clingan. Clip it and play it back next year.
Is that your guy?
For not for a top 10, like, okay, in this draft he's probably a top 10 pick, but like in a normal draft or a good draft he's not a top 10 pick.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but then again, Walker Kessler is probably a top 10 player from last year's draft, so I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not worried about it. I think those things tend to work themselves out. There's been drafts that have been thought of as weak at this point, turned out to be good. There's been drafts that have thought they were going to be good and turned out to be kind of weak. So,
yeah, I don't think there's any generational guys. Because normally the generational guys you kind of know like over a year in advance. Like Scoot, Wemby, Luka. Although Luka didn't even go number 1, so I don't know. Gray, you think this team is going to have an above 500 record? Well, if they trade Dame for Jaylen Brown, maybe they will. Shout out to Casey Darnell, $10 donut, says, just because we're all Blazer fans and in the end we love Dame, but we all need to stick together and root for our players. Screw Jody, Burt, and Cronin. Absolutely, Casey. Thank you for the $10 dono. I don't think there's really anyone that's like not going to root for the players or like going to hold something against the players. I think it's pretty united that it's, screw Jody, Burt, and Joe. Shout out to Tofty90. 10-euro dono says, I'm from Germany. Hey, I was born there. And next to Dirk, I fell in love with our Blazers in 2012. I became a hardcore fan watching 70 to 82 games a year in the middle of the night. Hate the front office to do that to Dame. Absolutely. Absolutely. Shout out to you out there in Germany. I was born in Aschaffenburg, by the way. I'm not German. I was just in Germany when I was made, so... Yeah, I mean, we'll see with the draft. It's just, at this point, right now, it's hard for me to get excited. If we were staring at, like, Wembanyama next year, then I'd be getting excited.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. The top 2 projected picks right now are Buzelis and Holland. They're going to play for the G League Ignite. I will be at those G League Ignite games when they're in Portland.
Yeah.
I will be scouting those guys in person. Same with Eisen Almansa. I probably said his name wrong, but
I'm excited about him more than the other 2.
Yeah, and he's a guy that's like getting some love right now as a guy that might play his way into the top 5. So, yep. So Dame trades, or a shout out to here. Do you want me to read off this stuff?
You got it.
Lucas Tobias with a 10 rand dono says, the team that wants Lillard will have to take OG Anunoby from Toronto to Portland, plus a center and 3 or 4 first-round picks. Miami, Toronto, Portland in parentheses, and then another set of parentheses, Brooklyn, Toronto, Portland. Then another set of parentheses, Boston, Toronto, Portland. And then another set of parentheses, New York, Toronto, Portland. And then another set of parentheses, Portland to Toronto. I am very confused, Lucas, but thank you for the 10 rand dono.
He's saying that in any Lillard trade, we have to make sure Toronto's the 3rd team and that we get OG Anunoby.
They're not trading OG. They're not trading OG. I don't know how many times, Lucas. This is the 4th time, man, in the last couple of days that you've brought up OG. They're not trading OG. They're stingy. They're running it back. That's why they signed Dennis Schroeder to replace Fred VanVleet. I don't think it's smart, but that's what they're doing. Um,
Just to warn you, anyone that types in chat under impersonating someone else, I'm just going to hide them because you guys are out of control. Gave you a few minutes to be funny, asked you guys to switch back, and no one did, so I'm just going to hide you.
You don't miss the days of Mario Hazonia burner.
I mean, it was fine when it was one person or something, and they were actually
when it was
trying
like
to
50 people in chat. Yeah. Back in the days when we used to have 20 to 50 people in chat. Back in the 2020 days. Now we start off up the stream on the second channel, get 500 because you guys are awesome. Anyway. No, my birthday is before 2000. I have dual citizenship. It was 1996. Chase McGraw, $5 dono, says, Tori, I'll get into NASCAR for real if you start watching soccer. Bro, that wasn't the deal. The deal was you'd get into NASCAR if they traded Dame, because you need something else to put your love into. And you live in Florida, so like you got a bunch of tracks down there around you. Talladega, Atlanta, Daytona. So
yeah.
I watch soccer occasionally though.
Shout out to you if you live in Florida and had to see a Blazer Media person say that he wants you to fall into the ocean.
Yep. What the hell, man? Like, why would you just randomly tweet that you want a whole state to fall into the ocean? Like, it's so weird. It's so strange. But that's exactly why we have certain opinions. XPLN says, guess I'm going swimming. Yeah, get some flotation devices and go swimming, man. Yeah. Oh man.
All right.
Smog, you do. We're not gonna say anything. You do your own research, and get rate limited in the process. By the way. Go ahead, Eric.
So Dame trades.
Yes.
Yeah.
2 hours in, Dame trades. Let's go.
So yeah, I still think it's going to be the Heat. I think they're just trying to act tough, like they held out for as long as they could. I don't know specific trade packages, but we do know basically what Miami's best offers are, or could be. And if Cronin doesn't make them change the protections on that 2025 pick they owe Oklahoma City, that's once again a failure on his part that he had control over and could have demanded. So if that, look for that to be the number one thing I'm going to look at is, well, probably number two. Number one is what team Hero's going to and what we were able to get for him. But number two is what if we end up getting 3 firsts and 3 swaps from Miami, or only 2 firsts and 2 swaps. And if that's the case, Cronin absolutely failed, and there's no excuse. People will excuse it anyway because that's what they do. Blame Dame for Cronin not being able to negotiate a trade.
Yep.
But I think at this point, as much as it sucks, I think if you renegotiate that, get 3 firsts, 3 swaps, and then get at least 1 first or something for Hero and some sort of competent player or something, and not take back any bad contracts. I think that's about as good as you could have hoped for anyway in a Dame trade. So 4 firsts and expiring salary, and maybe a couple of young guys like Jovic. If Hero goes to a team like Brooklyn, then maybe you get like one of their 2 recent draft picks, Clowney or Whitehead too. And another future first or something. But I don't think we're going to be able to hold out and get like 6 firsts instead of 4 or whatever. Like I just think it's kind of pointless to hold out at this point. And also,
can I give my?
Yeah, go ahead.
thoughts on OKC's part of that. So the reason why OKC would do it, I mean, they have a million future firsts. So the Miami first OKC is protected in 2025. I forget what the picks are, but then it's unprotected in 2026. Just making it unprotected in 2026 by giving OKC a couple of second round picks probably gets the job done, because I believe they have multiple picks in 2025 anyway. And that is, it's likely not going to fall in the protection anyway in 2025 if you got Dame and Jimmy Butler there, but if it's 2026, there is maybe a little greater likelihood that they aren't as good. So I don't think it really necessarily makes much of a difference. So if you can just throw in a couple of second round picks or maybe a young player, maybe a Trendon Watford, then you incentivize OKC to do that. But that's on Miami to figure out. If I'm Cronin, I'm saying you guys got to figure that out. You guys got to figure out how you can get us 3 first-round picks and 3 swaps and Nikola Jovic. Bare minimum.
Yep.
Bare minimum. Trade away Tyler Hero, Jovic, 3 unprotected first and 3 unprotected swaps. Also,
make sure you get any. I don't know what seconds they traded OKC, but if they have any seconds left, get those too. Jaquez just signed yesterday, so he cannot be traded for 29 days. If Cronin was asking for Jaquez as part of any package with Miami, I just don't see why they would have signed him yesterday. They would have held off on that, in my opinion. So Jaquez, to me, is off the table. So, I mean, you could push the trade out for 30 days. Maybe that happens. But if they were anywhere close to a deal, why wouldn't they just wait on that? Because they don't need a salary to match in a trade. So it's not like if we were trading Scoot and Ant for a max contract and we needed both of their salaries and we made the other team wait 30 days because they were getting Scoot. So, yeah, I don't see how it makes sense. And also, Cronin, I haven't heard any interest from the Blazers on Jaquez. We talked about if there was, the implications that we might have had a trade lined up with them before the draft for Dame would have been funny. But the fact that they signed Jaquez, I think, pretty much cements that they were the team with the promise Miami was, and that he wasn't part of any trade or anything like that. So I'd be surprised if they waited the 30 days just to include him when it doesn't seem like it really matters to the Blazers.
Yeah, so I had a trade kind of idea, and I'm not happy with the return, but we warned you guys the return wasn't going to be great, so, no surprise here. But basically, this trade got posted elsewhere on Twitter, I saw, in, the replies of some random account. I saw my own tweet screenshotted, which was kind of funny, but I saw both a Nets fan and a Heat fan said they'd do it, and that this trade was actually pretty good, so... basically, Miami gets Dame and Nurk. Brooklyn gets Tyler Hero and has to take on Duncan Robinson. And the Blazers get back Spencer Dinwiddie's expiring contract, Nikola Jovic, 2024, 2028, and 2030 first via Miami. A right to swap in 2025, 2027, and 2029. And then from Brooklyn has 3 unprotected picks in 2029, and it's Brooklyn, Dallas, and Phoenix. If Hero goes to Brooklyn and they're willing to give up an asset for him, I really want to try and get the best out of those 3 picks. Because if one of those teams isn't in the playoffs, that's a lottery pick. Guaranteed lottery pick right there. If one of those teams is just straight up bad, that's a top 5 pick, right? So I like taking a chance on that pick ending up being really, really good in 2029, and then that could be your all-in asset on whatever the future timeline is around Scoot and Sharpe or whoever.
Did you see what came out about the Nets today in Hero?
Yeah, that they need an asset to take on Hero.
That they're only doing it as a dump, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, at that point, you gotta go, some team has to value him somewhat, right?
Yeah,
So that's kind of a conversation right now, I think.
I think from the Nets' perspective, they realize that they're helping the Heat get Dame.
Yeah.
So they might not be that team.
Who do you think could be that team?
The weird thing is the Harden situation. So the Nets make sense because they wouldn't be a Harden team. But the Clippers make sense for both Harden and Hero. So if they don't get Harden, then they make sense, I think. Or would Philly want Hero if as part of a Harden trade to the Clippers? I don't know. But I think because the Clippers have given up like a first round pick for players like Luke Kennard and stuff in the past. They just had a trade for Eric Gordon this last season and then waived him. I think a player like Hero would fit in pretty well around Kawhi and Paul George and stuff. And they have a lot of expiring contracts and stuff to match his salary. Probably only get one first from them, but a couple expirings and a first isn't the worst for return for Hero.
Yeah, I mean, a protected first is just very bleh. Like, doesn't really change the calculation.
They owe us to make it unprotected from there.
I know, yeah, exactly. So, and they really don't have any young prospects either.
Yeah, Clippers can trade 2028 and 2030 first.
Yeah. So, like, if they're not going to trade us an unprotected first, then we need to get both of those first. But then what does 2028 become? It would have to become seconds. So you're basically gambling on not getting any first back. And it's just 3 firsts for Dame and 3 swaps, where if Miami's still good, the swaps doesn't matter. And you're getting 3 late firsts for Dame on top of Jovic, which is just gross. It's just not good enough. So...
Well, the good news is we haven't done a trade that has cost us several firsts. That's why I talked about in the ripping off the Band-Aid scenario is that, if we're going to do this, if the front office was leaning towards doing this anyway, don't make a stupid trade like the Ant and 3 firsts for OG trade because you're just trying to patch something up that you don't want to work anyway. So the good news is, outside of making the playoffs 1 year in the next 5 years or whatever, we don't owe like a bunch of our own future first places. So I don't think the return is like critical, whether it's like unprotected or protected in terms of like what we get for Hero. Now the Miami picks better all be unprotected and the swaps better be unprotected because that's the most they can offer. They don't have much to offer. So it has to be unprotected picks. But if you're talking about having all but one of your future picks and 3 future unprotected firsts, that's not. And you have Scoot and Sharpe and Ant and Jovic or whoever else you get in those trades. That's a pretty good start to a rebuild. I wouldn't look at that as a negative thing as much as it sucks to trade, to think about trading Dame for that little. I don't think it's that bad.
I think it could end up being very, very bad if Miami's still good. That's why I like getting the 2029 first from Brooklyn. That would be the best out of 3. But like, I don't think that's going to happen. But, because that's only one of those 3 teams has to be bad. You know what I'm saying? Maybe it's the second best of the 3. I don't know. But you're over-relying on Miami to be good. And then if the other pick you're getting back is protected like lottery, then there is a 50-50 chance that all you're getting back for Dame is picks that aren't in the lottery, in my opinion. So at that point, that would be bad.
I mean, that's the problem though when you decide to move on from Dame. So.
And it's what I warned people: you're not going to get a haul of picks for Dame. It's what we tried to tell people that lazily threw out that narrative.
Yeah, and
even if he wasn't forcing his way anywhere, that was the case. Yep. And we warned people. Yeah. So that's why that people that are going to say, oh, we didn't get back a bunch because Dame forced his way to Miami. There wasn't a ton out there.
And I've seen a ton of stuff saying future picks don't do anything for us. What are you talking about? I'd much rather load up on like 2028, 2029, 2030 first right now because those could actually do something. A 2024 first from Miami is not going to help us that much next year. It'll be like the 25th pick or something, and it won't really have a ton of trade value. Whereas for 7 years, if we get a 2030 first, that unprotected first, look how many times that 2021 first from the 2018 draft, or was McHale? Yeah, McHale was the 2018 draft, right?
Yeah.
That so. 2021 first that had gotten traded a long time before that got traded along with the rights to Zaire Smith to get Mikal Bridges to Phoenix. And then Philadelphia traded it. Who they trade? Did they trade it to the Clippers for Tobias Harris or something? And then that got traded in the Paul George trade, I think. And yeah, so there's just, you can use future unprotected picks. Like those are a rare commodity, and those are currency. So I would actually try to stock up as many future picks from a good team. If they have other teams' picks, it doesn't matter as much. But
it's a more valuable asset than a protected pick, and it's a more valuable asset than drafting, I don't know, Keon Johnson in the 20s and then trying to trade him 2 years later. I would have rather had a first round pick 4 years down the line and had that instead of Keon Johnson right now, because Keon Johnson is not worth a first round value, you know? So in a fluid rebuild, like having those future picks to kind of mold your team is ideal. You know, you can use them and trade into a spot to take like a Jalen Williams if you're super high on him and then he pans out, right? Or you can use them to trade up. Or, I mean, you can hold on to the picks, and since they're unprotected, they might be a top 5 to 10 pick when Scoot and Sharpe are 24 and 25 years old and entering their prime. And then you can put another star around them by trading that pick, because believe it or not, you can actually trade for stars in the NBA. You know, that maybe Scoot and Sharpe do some recruiting and somehow convince a guy to, I don't know, like, you know what I mean? You never know down the line. So having the upside of those picks for the next 4 or 5 years is a good trade asset to have. So having multiple of those is ideal.
Yeah. Well, Cole Ray asked how come Dame can't get a KD type package like Brooklyn did. Well, we've been trying to tell you guys this. Guards do not have as much trade value as wings and forwards. They just don't. Every forward takes this like outrageous trade package to get, and guards, look at Kyrie. He got traded for 1 first and Dorian Finney-Smith and stuff. Like Chris Paul has been traded numerous times. It's never really close to the KD package.
Yeah, I mean, Donovan Mitchell and DeJounte Murray are kind of your best examples. Donovan Mitchell especially, because he's better, closer to Dame.
They're both younger, and
those teams needed them, saw a need for them. That's the thing, is like, what team has a KD-esque trade package that wants to win right now and needs a point guard? There isn't one. That's what we were trying to explain. It was the landscape, like, and Cronin should have foresaw that before he forced Dame out. But instead, he'll get excuses made for him and say that he took what the best he could get. And it's like, okay, well, that's not necessarily false, but you should have known that's the best you could get, and you should have factored that into what you were trying to do. But basically, Cronin's just going to pitch that he was helpless and there was nothing more that he could have done, and Dame just wanted out, and Dame's the bad guy here, and he tried, and now they're going to pivot, and they're super excited about their future, and it's just going to be a bunch of lip service. Like, Cronin ain't going to own up to anything. And shout out Jason Lee, $2 donut, says, sad to trust Riley more to negotiate than Trader Joe. Yeah, I mean, no trust in Trader Joe, but you know, maybe in the future, once Dame's gone, we'll actually get to see him try, truly.
But I just, again, I said this earlier in the show. Everyone's talking about Scoot being this star player, right?
Mm-hmm.
We couldn't get anything back for the 3rd pick, according to those people, right?
Yeah.
But now we're supposed to get some sort of miracle trade for Dame?
Yeah.
Like, how does how does that work? So like Joe's supposed to not be able to get a trade for the third package, but he's supposed to hold out for some miracle trade at 3 or with Dame. And I'll just say this too. I'm not buying the Utah interest. Danny Ainge does the opposite of trading a bunch of picks for a 33-year-old player. He would be the opposite. He would be trading a player like Dame away for picks. Yeah, I don't think Utah is a serious threat to land Dame unless they got him for like really cheap.
Yeah, I think Toronto might be interested, but I don't think Cronin's gonna do any favors for Masai. Mm-hmm. Now Toronto probably gets to deal with, they want to run it back and compete, but since they wouldn't make a trade that made sense for themselves, which was OG for Ant, then again, did Cronin want that? Probably not.
Yeah.
Because it would have kept Dame. But now get to deal with Dame in Miami, probably, so... Basically, I'm at the point where it either needs, we're clear on what it needs to be from the Heat, but then from the other team, it should be, I want back, and it's asking too much for Hero, but I want back 2 protected firsts, 1 unprotected first, or a protected first and a young player.
Yeah. That's fair.
So.
If you got Terrence Mann and an unprotected first and Marcus Morris's salary to make it work, what do you think? Is Mann good enough or no?
I mean, if it's a protected Clippers first?
Yeah.
No.
What if it's light
I'm not.
protected?
So
it would take an unprotected, like 2028 unprotected.
Yeah, I mean, basically, it comes down to this. Like, okay, Riley, you want Dame so bad. You're such a great negotiator, right? Like,
by the way, chat. That's just for Hero, not for Dame.
yeah, that's for Hero. So make Riley do it. Like, he's the one who's getting a superstar who averaged 32 points per game last year. He has to maximize value for all his assets to make it good enough for Portland. That's on him. If he doesn't want to do that or is incapable of doing that, then all of a sudden you play hardball. Then we're playing hardball with Dame, and it's getting messy. But that's the thing. We can sit there and say, damn, like, well, we're willing to trade you to Miami, but they can't get enough. They don't want to trade enough. So, I mean, we're stuck now.
I could see Utah want a Hero, maybe. They did just draft some guards, though.
Yeah, they drafted Keontae George and Bryce Sensabaugh.
Yeah.
And they still have Clarkson, right? They just re-signed him?
Yeah, and Taylor Horton-Tucker opted in.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Okay, let me rephrase that. I could have seen them prior to that.
The team I could see having some interest in Hero? Before this offseason, not now, though.
Detroit?
No, Memphis. Memphis. But they got Marcus Smart.
Yeah.
But before that, like, they needed shooting. And Hero fits the timeline. They do have Bane, yeah, but they're still they still weren't a good shooting team last year. And they needed some more offensive firepower, in my opinion. So Hero brings that off the bench, for sure. 6th man of the year. But they got Smart instead. So I'm looking at teams that struggled shooting the ball and struggled scoring the ball, but maybe are good defensively. So they just need, a little shot in the arm offensively. Like Toronto, I mean, it was the 28th ranked team in terms of 3-point percentage. They sucked. So would Toronto trade picks for Hero? They got Gary Trent Jr. though,
Yeah, they're not.
But their point guard. Eric, their point guard. Okay, so they like having forwards that are like point forwards, right? And their point guard is Dennis Schroeder.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's Masai, Yeah. But like you could hypothetically maybe play Hero and Trent in the backcourt with like Barnes, Siakam, and Pirtle or whatever. I don't know. Orlando, maybe?
I mean, they just drafted some guards too. Shooters,
I
Jet
know.
Howard,
I know.
Anthony Black. I don't know. Doesn't make a lot of sense for that.
Signed Joe Ingles.
Yeah.
Paid Mo Wagner quite a bit. Like, yeah. They have $1 million. I mean, like, Gary Harris is 13 mil. I mean, if we're planning on starting Scoot, Ant, and Sharpe, then maybe, I don't know, Markelle Fultz. If they're willing to give him up for Hero, then he can be the third guard and Sharpe's just permanently a small forward. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see where Hero goes because the Heat have to get value out of him. Maybe the Wizards.
I just traded for Poole.
Poole and Hero starting together with Kyle Kuzma. Oh man, why is that so funny to me? Shout out to Kev Johnson, $10 donut. Seems like Portland is holding Dame hostage. No superstar is going to want to play in Portland with all the first round picks. Portland is just go get LeBron's son. That doesn't really make sense to me. I mean, superstars don't want to play in Portland anyway unless Dame's here, so Dame going elsewhere. I mean, if we trade him to a team he doesn't want to go to, it's not like it's going to change the status quo for us. So if players are looking at what Portland does with Dame, like, it's not like they were ever going to sign her in the first place unless we had Dame. So, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't really matter in regards to other players.
Maybe the Rockets are just dumb and take Hero. Dude, remember a couple years ago when Detroit signed like Mason Plumlee and Kelly Olynyk and traded for like it wasn't Gorgie Jang, but someone like that.
Yeah.
Who's the Dwayne Dedman? Like they just kept making random things, and then 2019 Kings were the 9th seed, and then they signed like Trevor Ariza and Corey Joseph and like a bunch of high priced. They had a ton of cap space and signed a bunch of veterans that were horrible for them. Like, what the hell is Houston doing? Like, like it's so random.
Yeah, like, is a men going to come off the bench? You got Van Vliet, Jalen Green, and Dylan Brooks, right?
Yeah.
Like, I assume you're going to start.
And
all
you
three
signed
of
them to
those.
huge deals. Like, it's not like you just took a flyer on them or something or trying
that
to.
Dylan Brooks signing is so comically terrible. Yeah. It's absolutely one of the worst signings I've ever seen in my life. Like, it makes no sense, dude. So then off the bench you're gonna have a men and Kevin Porter Jr., I guess, at the backup point guard, shooting guard, small forward spots. Are you just gonna go small? I mean, you got Tari Eason, he's gonna be your backup four with like Jabari Smith, and then you got Jock Landale and Alperen Şengün as your centers. Oh, and you also got Cam Whitmore at a wing spot too.
Jock Landale. Jock?
Yeah, Jock and Şengün are the centers, right? Yeah. And then Jabari is a power forward. Tari Eason basically has to play power forward. And then at the point guard, the small forward positions, you got Van Vliet, Dylan Brooks, Kevin Porter Jr., Jalen Green, Amen Thompson, and Cam Whitmore.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Okay. That's what I'm worried about with the Cronin rebuild. That is what I'm worried about, bro.
Like next year or 2 years from now, we have a bunch of cap space, so we sign like a Russell Westbrook at 38 or something.
Yeah. Oh god, that's scary. Shout out to Bob and Weave, $5 dono, says people keep ignoring human relationships in the NBA. Pritchard wouldn't give us Paul George in a trade because he was still mad about being fired. I don't know how true that was, but yeah, you do have to. There are things like that play a part. Thank you for the dono. Shout out Snacking K, $2 dono, says thoughts on that Jalen Green Josh Christopher vid. I have no idea. Oh wait, I know what you're talking about. I don't want to give my thoughts on that video.
Yeah.
I'm good.
It is what it is. Hopefully they all consented. I do want to say something about the relationship comment. So people are like, well, just trade Dame wherever. Well, one, Dame can also tell that team he's not reporting or something and blow up the trade. I mean, I don't think he would risk giving up all his money, but yeah. But the thing is, like, the Blazers have a bunch of clutch clients, right? Like, Nurk's a clutch client. Jeremy's a clutch client. Chauncey's a clutch client. If they know that Cronin promised Dame, if they all know this, and then he went back on his promise, it could, in fact, affect further negotiations with other agents that aren't associated with Dame, because they know Cronin's a sleazeball and they can't trust, like, let's just say we're trading for Pascal Siakam or something, and he has 1 year left on his deal, and they're trying to negotiate. Cronin's trying to tell him what promise will offer him a max in the summer of 2024. Like, how would an agent then believe him fully if he's already gone back on promise and he knows of other promises? So, I know you don't want to, like, let that affect you too much, but players do have some power, and there are things with relationships that you have to be care of not messing up.
So, yeah. Like, we need a new GM and new owner, basically.
Right.
is just barred, like, it's so clear as day. If that's the case, the only way you fix that is by getting a new GM and maybe a new owner. Because if Jody was a part in that, then she has a bad rep across the league. So we drastically need somebody to buy the team and bring in his own staff. Like, I don't know how fast that can come, but we are basically held hostage by the ownership group in terms of this team, because they running it into the ground, and I don't know when they're gonna stop. I don't know when they're gonna go. So I hope there's sell the team chance in Moda Center next year. If you're going to a game with a bunch of friends next year, start a sell the team chant. It's not going to change much, but I mean, let her have it, especially if she's there.
Yeah.
I mean, make her want to sell the team. Like, is kind of where I'm at right now. Anyway, anything else, Eric?
No, I just appreciate everyone, and special shout out to CJ if you're watching. Met him at my store today. He came in, told me that I sounded and looked a lot like his favorite podcasters, or one of his favorite podcasters, and so just gonna say shout out to you. Nice meeting you today, and thank you to everyone who watched today. Appreciate you all.
That's funny. Yeah, shout out to CJ. Anyway, we're out of here. We'll catch you Thursday, unless they trade Dame before then, or we maybe sign someone before then, which maybe we finally will at some point. I don't know. Have a safe 4th of July. Don't blow off any fingers. And, we'll catch you next time. Thank you to BetOnline for sponsoring this episode. Also, one final announcement that I forgot to get out of the way earlier. We plan on live streaming all Summer League games, so the Blazers release their Summer League schedule. And this is what it looks like. You got Scoot against 4 top prospects. Number 4 overall pick in Amen Thompson on July 7th. Number 1 overall pick against Wembanyama. That'll be a fun one on July 9th. Brandon Miller, who the Hornets took ahead of Scoot Henderson on Tuesday, July 11th. We'll see how hyped Scoot gets to prove that decision wrong. And then Anthony Black and the Orlando Magic on July 13th, and then there will be a 5th game. That could be the championship if the Blazers win all these games, which they got a pretty dang good summer league team and did it last year, and maybe we can get our 3rd ring in like 6 years. But those are the game times. Yeah, or I think that last one might be 6. I don't know if I got the time wrong on that last one, but they're all evening games, so we'll be live streaming all of them. Hopefully you can join us. That'll be on the main channel that we're live streaming those. So, anyway.
Thanks, everyone, for watching. Hope to see you again on Thursday, or I'm dreading every minute looking at tweets and stuff. Yeah, whenever a Dame trade happens or some other big move, we will be live.
Yep.
As quickly as possible.
Anyway, we're out here. Catch you next time. Until then, as always, peace out. Go Blazers.